and welcome to StudyIQ English, your one-stop destination for success in the UPSC Civil Services exam. A very warm welcome to today's current affairs video, which is a quick bulletin knowledge session on an underrated, often neglected, and yet a crucial environmental, social, economic issue. Yes, we are talking about the right to repair. We often talk about making sustainable consumption choices. We often talk about minimization. The duty of every informed consumer, citizen, individual to make such lifestyle choices which are in line with the often spoken about 3 R's of recycling, reusing, and reducing. In the same context, there is something extremely crucial to understand that until we know the value of saving things, unless we know the value of stopping unnecessary wastage, overconsumption, the problem of increasing solid waste, the problem of microplastic pollution, and the problem of environmental degradation will not be taken care of. And here comes in the picture the right to repair. As the name suggests, a right is a liberty, a right is a freedom to make an informed choice, which is not only for my own well-being, but also for the well-being of the entire planet. And then, when we talk about the right to repair, we are referring to the right that consumers have, the right which individuals like you and I have to choose to save our products from unnecessary wear and tear and degradation. We do not have to spend on consistently purchasing new products, newer goods, newer kind of commodities every day for a better lifestyle. Sometimes minimization, using as much as necessary. Sometimes choosing to repair things that we already have rather than throwing them away with the slightest sign of wear and tear can go a long way in protecting our ecology. And therefore, the right to repair talks about not only reducing our unnecessary wastage, unnecessary consumption, but also ultimately it talks about reducing our carbon footprint, reducing our carbon emission. One step in this direction goes a long way in saving ecology from too much waste, too much plastic toxicity, and eventually degradation and global warming. So, what is this right to repair? Right to repair was a concept that had initiated few years back. It often started as the discussion on creating a repairability index. Now, repairing only means the art of fixing something, of solving the problem, solving the degradation that is normal after prolonged usage in any electronic, computer-based or physical good or any commodity. So therefore, the repairability index is a standard rating that is given to various kind of products, whether they be electronic devices or non-electronic ones. All the products are given a rating which highlights how repairable are they. Will they need some repairing and you can use them for a very long time, saving your money, saving your planet? Or are they so sensitive and so delicate that they only are one-time use? Once the consumers understand what is the repairability of a given product, they can obviously make an informed choice whether to buy that or whether to avoid that. And therefore, the objective of the repairability index is ultimately to enable consumers to make smarter buying decisions, to not just fall for advertisement media campaigns, to actually think before they spend money on a product. Will it have a longer life? Will it be durable, or will it break and unnecessary it will cause a need of repetitive expenditure, repetitive wastage? So therefore, the whole purpose behind the index is to not only sensitize the public, but also to sensitize the manufacturers. In fact, it is all about extended producer responsibility. Extended producer responsibility, which means that the manufacturers, the producers of these goods and services, have a duty to give sufficient, effective, and authentic rating to their products so that the consumers know how durable the product is going to be. Now, the index typically gives a score to the products on a scale of 1 to 5 or sometimes even 1 to 10, indicating how repairable are they, how much can they be made to last longer with years and months of usage. Why do we need this index is another question. We need it because today we talk about sustainable consumption, sustainable production, sustainable distribution. What is sustainable? A word that was initially given by the UN, which meant using resources in such a way that we are able to preserve these resources, save some of them, even for the future generations. We cannot exhaust all that we have. It creates ecological pressure, economic pressure, and at the same time, it threatens of a dangerous future where there is insecurity of every kind, and hence we absolutely need this index. Now, India happens to be the second largest market for smartphones in India. With such a high level of electronic good demand, consumer good demand, fast moving consumer good demands, we have to make more strong, robust e-waste management policy, which is electronic waste management rules. We need them to be stronger, tighter, and strictly implemented. For example, there are certain policies currently being practiced in India, like the e-waste management rules 2022. But the prime focus here is recycling, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, we are not focusing too much on repairing. It's as good as saying prevention is better than cure. Why the need for recycle? Why the need for wastage when we can buy something that's repairable and that will be long lasting anyway? Now, the concept of unmaking becomes very important here. What do you mean by the concept of unmaking? Just the opposite of making or creating something. The concept of unmaking means creating products, designing goods and products in such a way that they can be disassembled or they can be broken down into their individual components easily. When you can disintegrate them easily, you can repair them, you can reuse them for a longer and longer period of time. This approach treats breakdown as feedback in case the product still does not work. If it is totally spoilt, then it becomes a lesson, it becomes a learning for not only the manufacturer but also the consumer. Okay, and the informal repairers, for example, we often say that in India, majority of our workforce is working for the informal sector of the economy. Yes, I agree. In the informal sector, there are so many problems regarding insufficient salary to zero social protection. At the same time, there is a huge benefit of this informal sector. How many of us realize that majority of our GDP contribution comes from the informal sector? It's very crucial for the economy. So here also, it is the employees and factories working in the informal sector who provide so many services with regards to repairing, restoring the products which consumers use. Some of these are expensive products. When discarded on a one-time use basis, they can not only lead to unnecessary overt out-of-the-pocket expenditure for the consumer, but it can also go on to add up to our already existing burden of non-disposable waste. So therefore, supporting the whole idea of repairing is absolutely in line with the circular economy. What is the circular economy? As the name suggests, an economy that works like a circle, not in a linear straight line format. In a circular economy, there is no open loop left. There is no wastage. The raw material generated from one sector gets utilized as input for another sector. And the cycle goes on. There is no scope for wastage. If you remember, just few years back in the UPSC essay exam, essay mains paper, there was a very interesting topic which said that forests are excellent case studies for better economic development. Now, this concept relates to that. Absolutely, forests represent a closed circular economic system. There is no resource going wasted. We need something similar for today's modern economy, where there is no need for waste. The waste generated from the agriculture goes as an input for the industry. The waste generated from industry and service sector goes as input for agriculture, for some other kind of manufacturing, and hence, when there is no waste, there is no ecological damage either. Therefore, the importance of right to repair comes in the picture. Now, a right is a very strong word. When we use the word right, it becomes an obligation on the part of the government, on the part of the society, to provide some liberty, some entitlement to the individual. So, right to repair absolutely is the right of an individual customer. We have a right to choose such smartphones, such tablets, such electronic devices, such white goods, such products, which have a longer durability, which we can repair maybe many times. But then we do not have to waste it unnecessarily. We are not only helping ourselves, but also the climate in the longer run. So therefore, whenever consumers go to buy a product, they have to have this awareness that purchase things that are easy to assemble and disassemble. Purchase things where repair is easily available. Read the manuals, read the brochures carefully before buying something. Do the companies provide repairing? Or they just expect you to throw the products with the slightest problem with them. Now, the need is to also make the manufacturers aware that they have to do some kind of self-declaration. They have to be honest about declaring what is the index score of their product so that consumers make the right choice. So therefore, repair is better than recycling. Repairing saves your money. Repairing saves your planet. Repairing saves your ecology. At the end of the day, the right to repair today is a movement. I wouldn't shy from calling it a new social movement, which is about multiple aims together. Yes, ecology, yes, economic planning, and yes, creating a better sustainable future. So therefore, this movement of right to repair talks about giving consumers the right to fix their own products, either by themselves or by a third party intervention, by proper repair shops and workshops. Now, this is all about empowering the consumer and reducing electronic waste. It is very difficult to dispose electronic waste most of the times in countries like India, who are still struggling with proper solid waste management rules. And now, for example, you might question, where did this idea of right to repair come from? It all originated back in 2012 in the US, where manufacturers were forced to provide all the documents and information to consumers buying cars. That how repairable are these cars? Will the manufacturer help in repair in the future or no? And such things, therefore, have created a great example to the world. India, now as one of the topmost economies of the world, today has a special Department of Consumer Affairs, and yes, we do provide the right to repair portal. It just shows the government's commitment to provide consumers with transparency and the right to repair. Thank you so much for being a part of this video. See you soon with other interesting initiatives. Do like, subscribe and share Study IQ English. Thank you.